Hi, this is Kevin Deal from Upscale Audio, and today we're going to talk about Naim. But before we go there, I got to say something. I did another video, and a guy had complained, and he said, stop talking that your store is the only store that can provide service because your salespeople aren't on commission. It's okay if people are on commission. And I agree with you. It's okay if people are on commission, but not if they're selling many, many products. And I'm going to tell you why. Because their financial interests are going to come before yours. It's just the way that it is. I've been doing this for a living for 42 years. And I remember many, many years ago when I worked at a hi-fi store in the 1980s, this place liked to push Mitsubishi TVs and VCRs. And Mitsubishi had a higher margin, so the salespeople made more money, and they also made a cash spiff. And they would tell everybody, this is the best, this is the best, this is the best. And it wasn't the best. Pioneer projection TVs were much better than Mitsubishis. Mitsubishis would go dim, they just turn, but you know, I'm just telling you, man, I don't want that vibe in my store. I have some products here that I sell that have so little profit in them that it hardly even makes sense to sell them, but they are great products. And I want anybody that works there to be able to suggest it to a customer freely without saying, you know what, if I tell them to buy this, I'm not going to make any money on it. And that's the way that it is. Some manufacturers offer cash spiffs to push their stuff. And that doesn't happen because I don't dig. It's not in your best interest. So there's nothing wrong with commissioned salespeople. I think that makes the world go round. They should be compensated for working hard. But I don't want it to affect what you get because it's just not cool. I don't dig it. I can sniff that stuff out when I go somewhere and someone's being dishonest, and I just don't like. So let's talk about this. This is the Naim SUPERNAIT 3. I love this amp. I'm going to tell you, before I had Naim, years ago, I would have people call up because there was a big name dealer over by the coast here that sold a lot of it. And some of his people would call wanting to buy it because I guess I don't know why, but they'd want to buy it somewhere else. And I go, well, I don't have Naim. They go, I heard you have a nice store. I want to buy Naim. I go, I don't have Naim. I go, but I've got this and this and this. They go, no. Oh, I go, well, yeah, but what about no? And it's really strange because Naim owners are like, I don't know how to put it, like Scientologists. And this is not a knock against Scientologists, but they are believers. You know, I mean, for whatever that means to them, it is what they like because they've had that experience and they're into it. And it's the same thing with Naim. And I've always wondered why people were so rabid about it and fervent, and they won't think any other way. Until I got the product in and I was able to take it apart and see what the engineering is, and then to listen to it and understand it. And now I get it. This is the SUPERNAIT 3. Look, the SUPERNAIT 2 was a very, very popular product. It was $54.99 and just badass. I mean, and it would knock the shit out of separates that cost twice as much. And I'm not kidding you. Now with the SUPERNAIT 3, they've made changes where they've made improvements, and it's got a phono stage, and the price is now $45.99. The price has gone down. And I love that because I'm sick of people getting overcharged. So this is a great amp. So what is it that makes it so good? Well, I always tell you, don't I? Parts and engineering. Parts and engineering. Don't worry about high power ratings. High power ratings mean nothing. You can get a Sony receiver with 200 watts per channel for $200 on Amazon. And it'll really do 200 watts at low distortion and full bandwidth. I'm not kidding you. But do you think it's going to sound better than this 80-watt amp? Of course not. And why is that? Because power doesn't mean a damn thing as long as you have enough of it. What's more important is this. Dynamic range is the difference between light and dark and loud and soft. And what I'm most concerned with is dropping the noise floor, coming out of blackness. That's how you get that goosebump stuff. But to achieve that, you have to spend money. You can't just do it by putting in a frickin' switching amp and a cheap-ass power transformer and giving people 200 watts. That doesn't do it. It costs a lot more money to do what they did, and it starts with the power supply. This is an 80-watt amplifier, and even though it's only 80 watts, look at that transformer. It's made in Ireland, and it is beefy. I mean, when I gave my camera guy, Mr. 420, when he was picking it up, he goes, "Ooh, what the hell?" You know, I go, I know, it's a real amplifier. Why do they use a toroidal power transformer? Because it's the best way to go. Toroids don't radiate EMI outside of the core of the donut, so it makes things much quieter. Most manufacturers don't use them. Some do. Prima Luna does. I mean, and it gets back to that, you know, in the world of tubes, look at Prima Luna, a 36-watt tube amp that smokes 100-watt amps that cost 3 times as much, and it's because of parts and engineering. Same thing here. Toroidal power transformer, boom! Now it's mounted directly to this nice heavy steel gauge, heavy chassis. But all the critical circuitry is on a separate circuit board that is mounted on shock absorbers of sorts to reduce the effects of the transformer humming. Because transformers, no matter what, are gonna hum. So now you've taken all the sensitive electronics and they've mounted them in such a way that they are isolated from the rest of the chassis. So this is on a little suspension here. It's the same thing with all the inputs. The inputs are isolated. If you look at the wiring, you can kind of see what their ideas are. They don't even want things coming in from the RCA jacks and the DIN jacks. So everything is isolated to drop that noise floor. Looking at the capacitors, hell yeah. These caps are made in the EU, and there's 10,000 microfarad capacitors here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those. And then these, I can't read them, but I think they're about 7,000 microfarads, judging by their size. That's badass. That's overbuilding it. That's more filter capacitance than that $4,000 hybrid integrated that I talked about. I mean, got what I'm saying? And that thing is supposedly 160 watts. Bullshit. This is built better, and it sounds better. And that reason is because they spent the money on parts. Let's look at these output devices. It's really slick what they did. They did not want to mount the transistors onto these metal plates and then onto these spacers that are normally used. What they wanted to do was also maintain the decoupling from the main chassis, and they didn't want to use those spacers, so what they used was ceramic heat sink coupling devices that are custom made. The benefit of that is it's also electrically decoupled from the chassis. That costs money to do. No one's going to talk about it. No one's going to show it to you, but I will. It's badass. Let's look at the phono stage. Moving magnet phono stage. If you have a moving coil cartridge, you're going to have to get a different phono stage or use a step-up transformer. But I'm going to say this. As far as a moving magnet phono stage goes, this one is very, very nice and very, very usable. I think that usually internal phono stages are dog shit, and I tell people don't even bother using them because they're there as a convenience. But this thing works. It's very, very nice. The volume controls are even trick. This uses an Alps Blue Velvet motorized potentiometer. Why? Because you can use chips, but most manufacturers that use chips, it sounds like chips. I don't care what you say. There's a very, very slight electronic sheen that can happen. Now, there's some ways that it can be done where you don't get that. I've seen a couple manufacturers that do a good job, but most companies don't do a good job, and you can just kind of sense it when it's done that way. But not just that, you also have an Alps Blue Velvet being used as the balance control. No one would ever know because if you look at this, it all looks the same. You have to look inside. That's an expensive part. So not only, they're using 2 of them. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Attention to detail and building something that's worth owning that's going to last. You have these plugs on the back for upgrades. There's 3 different upgraded power supplies that you can plug right into the back of this. And that's a very, very slick thing to do. And what I want to say to you is this. If you add the flat cap, the super cap, or the, I forget what the third one is, you're not going to be really increasing wattage because it's not about that. It's about increasing parts. And man, people that buy those, it's really cool because you can buy this now, but if you want to have an upgrade path, just plug in one of the upgraded power supplies later, should you choose to do so. It has the ability to defeat the volume control if you want to just use this as a power amp later, preamp out. I mean, damn, it's a really, really badass piece. And the best way to describe it is this: a natural flow that is effortless. And it's, the best way to put it is substantial. There's going to be some speakers, like some of these little British mini monitors and, you know, like the Harbest and the Proax and all that stuff. And they're just kind of a bear to drive. And, you know, a lot of British amps, I'm going to tell you something, I don't think they're built that well. They just don't have that terrific follow-through that I think is required for some of those speakers. This one does. It is made in the UK. I mean, it's the real deal. And it is really, really badass. Of course, it comes with a beautiful remote control, but you know, it's something that you can be proud of and built to last a lifetime. So look, if you want to hear it, come over. We will do a wonderful comparison for you with other products if you like. You know, none of my people are on commission, like I said. We take trade-ins. We have no interest financing. And most important, you know, I want you to know, we really want you to be happy here. I know this is the good time place. And, you know, for people that are getting their stuff from us, we want to make sure you know that we're going to treat your system like it's our system. We got a beautiful, huge facility now. We just expanded to 25,000 square feet. So, you know, at Upscale Audio, we'll treat your system like it's ours. Thanks.